Good evening and welcome. I'm glad you're here. Settle in however you feel most comfortable. Let your shoulders soften and allow the day to drift a little farther away with each breath. Tonight's story is gentle and unhurried, made for quiet listening and easy rest. I wish you a peaceful time, a calm mind, and that pleasant feeling of safety that comes when the world grows still. If you like, imagine the room around you becoming warmer, dimmer, and quieter as the night deepens. Now, when you're ready, let yourself step into the museum after closing, where winter presses softly against the windows, and everything inside is wrapped in light, marble, and silence. By the time you lock the last side door and slide the ring of keys into your coat pocket, the museum has already become another place. In the daytime, it belongs to footsteps, school groups, umbrellas left dripping by the entrance, whispered questions, polished shoes crossing the foyer, and the soft chorus of many people trying to be quiet at once. But late in the evening, after the final visitors have gone, and the glass doors reflect only the interior lights, the building exhales. Its long corridors loosen. The great halls, no longer carrying the weight of conversation, seem to grow taller and calmer. Silence does not fall all at once. It gathers delicately, settling on frames, on plinths, on the bronze curve of a shoulder, on the varnished gleam of a landscape under glass. Outside, snow moves steadily through the night. You can see it in the windows that face the eastern courtyard, where the lamps turn every drifting flake into a pale spark. Winter has laid a hush over the city. The traffic beyond the gates has thinned to something distant and unimportant, a softened murmur somewhere past the trees. Near the museum walls, there is only snow brushing the stone steps, snow resting on iron railings, snow whitening the statues in the garden until they look like old thoughts held perfectly still. You begin your round the way you always do, not with hurry, but with attention. Your shoes touch the marble floor with a sound you know by heart, a measured, easy cadence. Each step gives a faint click, then a light answer from the corridor ahead, a delicate echo that never quite repeats itself in the same way twice. The marble is pale beneath the lamps, its veins like fine gray rivers running under a skin of light. Overhead, chandeliers and shaded wall sconces have been lowered to their nighttime glow. The brilliance of day is gone. In its place, there is warmth, gold pooled in corners corners, amber resting along the edges of door frames, a gentle radiance on the banisters and polished cases. Nothing glares. Everything seems to be keeping a confidence with the dark. You carry a small notebook, though you almost never need to write much in it. One hinge checked, one climate gauge noted, one lamp in the third west gallery flickering slightly to be mentioned in the morning. The routine comforts you. The pages smell faintly of paper dust and wool from your glove. The pencil is smooth from use. There is pleasure in such ordinary things at this hour, when they are all that remain between the day and dawn. The first hall you enter is lined with portraits. In daylight, they are often the busiest works in the museum. Visitors gather before them, trying to read expressions, trying to guess the lives behind lace collars, military coats, velvet sleeves, gloved hands. Now the painted faces receive only lamplight and your passing glance. They do not seem lonely. If anything, they appear relieved. Their silence has deepened into something rich and settled, like the silence of a room after music has ended and left a sweetness behind. You slow before a portrait you have known for years. A woman in dark blue silk, one hand resting on the back of a chair, the other holding a folded letter. The painter gave her a calm that has survived centuries of attention. By day, people stand close and search her features for sadness, intelligence, disappointment, wit. At night, she simply remains herself. The blue of her dress darkens toward midnight in the lowered light. The pearl at her throat catches one warm glint and holds it. Her eyes, wherever they were fixed when the brush first completed them, are not restless. They do not follow. They do not demand anything. They only keep their place in the world and let you keep yours. You stop in front of her for a moment, the way you often do. Behind you, the hall stretches quiet and luminous, frame after frame receding into shadow and gold. The museum never feels empty to you at this hour. It feels complete, not animated, not stirring with secret movement, but whole in the way a sleeping house is whole. Every beam and stair and curtain settled into itself. The paintings do not whisper. The statues do not turn their heads. Nothing reaches across the boundary of what it is. Their gift is simpler. They remain. They hold stillness with such certainty that you begin to feel stiller too. You move on. At the corner of the next gallery, one of the brass labels beneath a landscape has tilted slightly to one side. You noticed it yesterday and meant to bring the little screwdriver from the maintenance drawer. Tonight you remember. You set your notebook on the nearby bench, take the tool from your pocket, and gently straighten the plate. The metal is cool against your fingers. One screw, then the other. The landscape above it shows a summer field under a broad and patient sky. All green distance and white clouds. The contrast with the world beyond the window makes you smile. Outside, snow drifts in the courtyard and the branches are bare. Inside the frame, wheat bends in warm wind that has not blown for more than 100 years. When the tab is fixed, you step back to check it. Perfectly level. Such tiny corrections matter here. They are not urgent, and that is part of their kindness. A museum at night asks for care, not speed. It asks you to notice what is crooked, dim, dusty, out of place by a fraction, and to set it right without fuss. There is something restful in this, something almost ceremonial. To smooth a corner of information paper, to align a rope stand, to make sure a bench is square with the room, to move through beauty not as a conqueror or interpreter, but as a steward of quiet. Your route carries you into the sculpture court. This is the room many people hurry through in the day because it feels too open, too exposed under its high glass ceiling. But in winter night, it becomes the heart of the building. Snow has covered the panes above with a blurred white film, and the moon, somewhere behind clouds, lends the ceiling a pearly softness. Lamps placed low around the edges lift gentle light upward, so that the statues rise from illuminated bases into dimness, their marble surfaces glowing as if they remember daylight and are slowly giving it back. Your footstep sounds different here. The hall is larger, and the echo arrives a breath later, airy and light. Click on marble. A soft answer from the colonnade. Another from the vaulted end of the court. Nothing sharp, nothing startling. The sound folds into the room as though the room has accepted it. You walk between statues of emperors, saints, allegories of spring and justice and memory. A winged figure tilts her stone head. A philosopher sits with one sandaled foot drawn back beneath his robe. A child carved in pale marble sleeps against the side of a large urn, one arm folded under his cheek. In the day, people photograph these details. At night, they seem to rest more deeply, untroubled by observation. The cold perfection of the stone becomes warm under lamplight. chisel marks emerge. The faint translucence in carved fingertips appears and vanishes as you pass. There is one statue you always pause beside, not the grandest in the room, nor the most admired, but the one that steadies you most completely. She stands near the far wall in a shallow niche, a draped figure with lowered eyes and hands gathered loosely in front of her, as though she has all the time in the world and no need to prove it. There is damage along one fold of the robe where time has worn the edge thin. One finger is missing its tip. None of this lessens her presence. If anything, it deepens it. She is not perfect in the fragile way of untouched things. She is enduring. You stand before her and listen. At first you hear only what you expect. The gentle hum of the climate system moving through hidden vents, the faint buzz from one old lamp somewhere down the south corridor, your own breath within the scarf at your throat. Then, as often happens in the museum when you give the silence enough room, smaller sounds emerge. A minute settling of wood in a distant frame. Snow tapping once against a pane. The almost inaudible grain of the building existing around you, not asleep exactly, but profoundly at rest. You never feel alone in a frightening sense here. Solitude in the museum is not emptiness. It is company without demand. Everywhere around you are presences that ask for nothing but respectful attention. The figures in marble do not intrude upon your thoughts. The painted rooms and gardens and faces do not seek to pull you into their histories. They offer a calm alternative to haste. They tell you, by their stillness alone, that time can be held without being chased. You continue along the perimeter of the court and into the gallery of northern landscapes. This room is your favorite in winter. The windows along one side are tall and narrow, and tonight each one is filled with a pane of darkness dusted by snow. Between them hang paintings of frozen rivers, fir forests, villages under low skies, distant mountains rendered in silver blue and ash. The warmth of the lamps makes the frames glow honey brown, and the scenes inside seem cooler for it, crisp and hushed and full of weather. You often think the room is having a conversation with the season outside, not in voices, but in textures. Oil paint and snowfall, varnish and frost, wood paneling and bare branches, interior firelight and the long blue breath of winter. Your step slows automatically here. The marble, buffed to a low reflects the lamps in softened ovals. Your shadow moves beside you, lengthening and shortening between benches. Light echo follows light echo, the sound of your soul's delicate, as if the museum itself wished not to disturb what it contains. There is a canvas at the end of the gallery you return to more often than any other. It shows a river frozen at twilight, a bridge in the distance, and two small figures crossing the ice with a lantern between them. The sky is already deepening into evening. Snow lies on the banks in smooth blue folds. A stand of black trees rises along the far shore. Yet the tiny painted lantern is enough to make the whole scene feel inhabited, safe, and somehow warm despite the cold. In all the years you have looked at it, you have never tired of that balance. The world can be vast, wintry, darkening. Still, a small circle of light can belong within it and make it gentle. Tonight, the glow of the gallery lamps catches the varnish over the painted lantern, and for a moment it seems almost real, not moving, not flickering, only quietly present. You clasp your hands behind your back and stand there, breathing slowly, looking until the muscles in your face soften into that expression, which is almost a smile and almost simply peace. To your left hangs another favorite, a snow-covered chapel at the edge of a forest. The roof is heavy with winter. The door is shut. No one stands outside it. Yet the scene is not empty. It carries the peculiar fullness of places held in trust by silence. You think that is what you love most in art, perhaps, and what this night hour reveals so clearly. Not excitement, not drama, but composure. A room, a road, a face, a field, a hand, a sleeping dog near a hearth. Things at rest in themselves. Things not asking to become more than they are. At the end of the gallery, you bend to straighten the corner of a visitor leaflet that has slipped partly from its holder. The paper makes the faintest dry sound beneath your glove. You smooth it, align the stack, and dust a stray fleck from the stand with the edge of your sleeve. Then you check the window latch, not because anything is wrong, but because checking is part of the pattern that carries you through the hours. Metal against metal, secure. Outside, snow keeps falling. You turn off one unnecessary display light over a side case, and the room deepens into a gentler dusk. It pleases you immediately. The paintings do not need brightness now. They need room to breathe. In the decorative arts wing, carpets absorb your steps so completely. few moments, the museum seems to forget even the idea of sound. Here the cases hold clocks with enamel faces, porcelain cups painted with vines, silver boxes, fans, ivory-backed brushes, miniature portraits no larger than the center of your palm. The warm light rests particularly well on these objects. Gold threads in a tapestry quietly awaken. A lacquered cabinet gathers amber highlights along its edges. A row of glass goblets catches and releases tiny moons. Nothing glitters aggressively, everything glows. You pass an old long case clock whose mechanism has been stopped for conservation. Its hands remain forever at 10 minutes past 4. In the daytime, children ask why it does not chime. Tonight, it seems entirely right that it should not. Not every beautiful thing must perform. Not every measure of time must move. In this wing, the halted clock, the folded fan, the sealed snuff box, the empty chair upholstered in faded green silk, all seem joined by a kind of noble patience. They have completed the business of being used. Now they simply abide in the soft custody of the night. At the end of the room hangs a large mirror in a carved gilt frame. You catch your reflection crossing before it. Dark coat, modest lamp clipped at your pocket, the outline of your notebook, the pale oval of your face briefly passing through layers of reflected chandeliers and shadowed cases. You look as you always do on these rounds, calm, perhaps a little tired, attentive in the quiet way that does not strain itself. You are not a dramatic guardian pacing against danger. You are a caretaker of stillness. That feels more than enough. When you re-enter the central staircase hall, you pause on the landing and look down. The marble stairs sweep in 2 wide arms toward the entrance below, where the doors stand darkened by the night beyond. Lamps on the walls cast a buttery glow across the banisters, and the stone seems almost creamy, almost soft. Your descent is slow, hand on polished wood. One step, another. Your soles tap the edges of the stairs, and the sound rises gently through the hall, returning to you mellowed by height. At the foot of the staircase stand 2 large statues on square pedestals, guardians only in the architectural sense, severe by daylight, serene by night. Their profiles are outlined in warm light. Snowlight seeps through the glass doors behind them and mingles faintly with the interior gold, blue and amber meeting without cross the foyer and stop near the coachroom alcove, where an umbrella stand waits empty until morning. On winter nights, there is often a scent here that you notice only after closing. Not exactly cold, but the memory of cold carried in from outside and gradually leaving the stones. It mingles with beeswax, old paper, wool, and the indefinable clean dryness of museum air. It is one of the building's true scents, hidden during visiting hours beneath perfume, damp coats, and the outside world. You draw it in with a quiet breath and feel, for no urgent reason at all, grateful. Your route leads next to the small gallery of religious icons, one of the oldest rooms in the museum, and perhaps the most naturally still. Even in daylight, visitors lower their voices here without being asked. The room is narrow, with dark wood paneling and a ceiling painted a muted celestial blue. Tonight, only the wall sconces are lit. Their glow touches the gold leaf backgrounds of the icons until they seem to carry some inward dusk of their own, a tenderness rather than a shine. Here your footsteps are especially soft, and the echo nearly disappears. It is as though the room receives sound and keeps it. Faces look out from the panels with their ancient calm. Saints with elongated hands, solemn mothers, kings bearing miniature churches, angels whose wings are patterned like fields of feathers made from light. They do not seem separate from the room, but woven into it. Wood, the pigments, the shadows in the corners, the tiny crackle-or lines crossing painted cheeks, everything has aged into unity. You stand before an icon no larger than a notebook, its gilding worn at the edges by centuries of proximity to human hands before it came here. Now no one touches it. It lives behind climate-controlled glass, protected, explained, catalogued. Yet something intimate remains. Perhaps age itself can become a kind of softness. You check the humidity reading. Normal. A little farther on, you notice one bench has shifted a few inches out of alignment with the center tile. The discrepancy is minor, the kind most people would never see, but your eye catches it immediately. You set your notebook down once more, place both hands on the carved wooden back, and ease the bench into line. The legs whisper against the floor. There, balanced with the room again. You imagine tomorrow's visitors entering and feeling, without knowing why, that the space is restful. So much peace depends on small, unseen care. When you leave the icon gallery, the corridor ahead seems brighter, and for a moment you simply stand and listen to the layered quiet of the whole museum around you. There is no one calling from another hall, no radio crackle, no hurried sound from a closing office. The last curator has gone home. The last cleaner finished an hour ago. The city beyond the snow is keeping its own late schedule. But here time has changed texture, no longer pushes from behind. It opens gently in front of you. You continue into the modern wing, where the rooms are simpler and the walls lighter. During the day, this part of the museum feels busier somehow, even when the visitor numbers are low. The shapes and colors ask for direct attention. At night, though, the abstraction settles into a different kind of calm. Plains of blue and ochre become meditative. A single black line crossing a pale field feels like breath, drawn slowly and released. A bronze form on a white pedestal, all smooth curves and unbroken surface, reflects the warm lamps in broad sleeping highlights. There is one canvas here that many visitors find puzzling. It is nearly empty, a pale gray ground, a faint horizon, and above it a rectangle of softened white. People stand in front of it and ask what it means. Tonight, with the building quiet and the windows full of snowfall, it seems perfectly clear. It means space. It means rest. It means the kindness of little. You stand before it for longer than usual, feeling your own thoughts simplify in its company. No story presses forward. No interpretation is required. It is enough to look. Near the far wall, a small spotlight has grown warmer than the others, tinting the label beneath a sculpture. You make a note to mention it. Then you lightly nudge the label stand into symmetry with the pedestal and move on. As the hour deepens, you return gradually toward the older halls, following the route that eventually brings you back to the central court. The museum feels changed again, not by movement, but by your own passage through it. Rooms you have checked become somehow more settled in your mind, as if by noticing them carefully, you have helped them complete their descent into night. The portraits are watched over. The landscapes are level and lit just enough. The bench is straight. The latch is secured. The labels are proper. The silence, if such a thing can be tended, has been tended. When you enter the sculpture court once more, the effect is even more beautiful than before. Snow has thickened over the glass ceiling, turning it almost luminous. The statues stand beneath that dim celestial whiteness, as though under a winter sky held at the perfect hour before midnight. You walk more slowly than ever, reluctant in the pleasant way one is reluctant to leave a fire, or a warm bath, or the edge of a dream. Your favorite draped figure waits in her niche, unchanged and entirely sufficient. You stop beside her, but do not look up immediately. Instead, you listen to the room, the faint hum, the breathing quiet, the little polished report of your last step fading from the marble and dissolving into the open height above. Your gloved hand rests lightly on the notebook in your pocket. You have spent the evening in close company with things that do not speak. And because they do not speak, they have made room for a different kind of understanding, one that asks less, explains less, and comforts more deeply. At last, you raise your eyes to the statue's lowered face. The warm light has caught on the bridge of her nose, on one fold of drapery, on the edges of her hands. The rest falls away in soft shadow. She is neither sad nor cheerful. She is simply present. The room around her is present. You are present. Outside, snow continues its slow descent over the sleeping city. Within the museum, all that was made by hand and thought, and patience over centuries, stands quietly together. Marble and canvas, varnish and gold leaf, bronze, linen, oak, silk, glass. Nothing hurries. Nothing asks to be more alive than this. A profound safety lives in that realization. Not the safety of locks alone, though the locks are good and the doors are strong. Not the safety of alarms, though their hidden systems wait faithfully behind walls and under floors. A deeper safety than that, the feeling that beauty can rest, that it does not always need to defend itself or declare itself or be consumed by attention. Here, tonight, beauty is allowed to be still. And because you are the one walking gently among it, checking each room and each simple detail, you are allowed to be still as well. You make one final note in your book, more a habit than a necessity. North gallery secure, bench aligned, brass label corrected, spotlight to review. Your pencil makes a soft, dry sound on the page. Then you close the notebook and slip it away. On your last pass through the portrait hall, the woman in blue silk seems, as ever, composed beyond explanation. In the landscape room, the two tiny figures on the frozen river continue across the painted twilight with their small lantern, never arriving, never lost. In the decorative arts wing, glass and silver asleep under amber light. In the icon room, the gold backgrounds hold their inward dusk. On the staircase, marble waits without impatience for the morning's footsteps. Everywhere there is the same message. If silence can be called a message, rest, remain. There is no need to become anything else tonight. At the end of your round, you dim the final corridor lights to their overnight level. The museum softens one last degree. Shadows lengthen gently beneath benches and plinths. Doorways become velvety. The polished floors turn from glow to sheen. You stand for a moment in the center of the foyer, hands loosely folded, and let your eyes travel upward to the dark high windows, where snowflakes pass in slow, slanting silver lines. Somewhere beyond them are rooftops, chimneys, sleeping apartments, late trams, bridges over black water. All the ordinary life of the city moving toward morning. But here, inside these walls, the night has settled completely. You turn toward the small watch room where a lamp and kettle await you for the quiet hours before dawn. As you walk away, your footsteps cross the marble with that familiar soft clarity, each one followed by its light echo, each one accepted by the building and then released. You do not feel that you are leaving the galleries behind. Their calm comes with you. It has entered the rhythm of your breathing, the looseness of your shoulders, the untroubled steadiness of your heart. Behind you, the paintings remain in their frames, silent and sufficient. The statues remain on their pedestals, serene under warm light. Outside, winter keeps laying snow over the darkened city in patient, shining layers. Inside, the museum watches over its treasures by doing nothing more dramatic than being still. And you, moving through its late evening hush, are held by that stillness too, as gently and as certainly as lamplight resting